4 titles in the space of 5 years. I'm talking about the team Bodø Glimt, led by this man. So his name is Kjetil Knutsen. Yes, Kjetil Knutsen is the manager for Bodø Glimt. He has been the mastermind behind the annihilation of a couple of teams who are known as big giants in Europe. Look at their record in the Champions League this season. What have they done? They only so far have lost to Monaco at home. They drew with Tottenham Hotspur. And who else did they draw with? Juventus. And then who did they beat? They beat Atletico Club de Madrid. They beat Manchester City. They beat Internazionale, home and away. This is the mastermind behind it. It did not happen out of the blue. It was no fluke. This man has been coaching since 1998. He has had the opportunity to pay his dues, running up the ranks and climbing to become the boss of the club known as Bodø Glimt, coming through from Norway. There are some peculiar ways that he likes to set up his team, and that has been one of the key things to success for him as a manager. Predominantly, his entire team is mainly guys who play for the Norwegian national team or come from Norway. Norway. Now, get this. He always likes to set up his team in a 4-3-3 manner. But then again, I always say these figures are just numbers, as each and every manager has their own interpretation of how they want their team to play. Now, 4-3-3. Looks attacking. 4-3-3 might sound defending. But then again, how he actually uses this to exploit spaces and create spaces for himself and his team is what is quite notable. Now, let's look at this example. He also enjoys this whole play from the back, and let's try and move balls forward. But then again, in playing in the 4-3-3, you normally have a situation where he has a single pivot. Normally, the gentleman known as Berg. Yes, Berg is a Norwegian, like I said. A lot of basically all the players in the shots for Bodø are Norwegian. Yes, all of them are Norwegian. Very much so. All of them are Norwegian. So he likes to play in a 4-3-3. Now, the difference here is he allows his laterals to hug the touchline, creating more width and increasing the space that opponents have to travel to press. Now, typical example is this. So you've got the right back here, and then Borkan, who is the left back, on the other side. Now look at the distance between himself, that's Borkan, and his opponent who is trying to tackle him. Quite a distance. For the man on the right-hand side, is totally a long distance. So this is what he wants to achieve in his build-up phase or in his early build-up phase. Now that is phase 1, especially with what happens alongside his defenders. Now when you step into midfield, that's where it becomes more interesting because he plays with double eights. Yes, double eights. Not wide players who like to go hug the touchline, because he's got that in the second batch of 3 players up front. So the double 8 here normally come infield and then allow room for a single pivot. Now, you might think that having a single pivot, he might be overwhelmed once the opponent notice and decide to go double up on him. But that's where it gets very interesting, because what happens? The side to which the ball is determines which of the double eights tends to step back. So in this case, the ball is with Moy, and then Fet, who is also part of the double eight, steps back to, create a certain slight position where you've got double pivots in this case. So a slightly modified 4-2, 1-3-ish in this case. So coming in, Fet comes in to solve and help Berg with a double pivot. But then again, what happens to the other 8? He creates an extra passing channel so they can then get the ball to Botstrup and then go over the top to the second 8 there. And he also constantly has been instructed, or both 8s have been instructed by the coach, to always take the ball in their stride or take the ball in the position where they are about to begin the run in a way that would make it difficult for the opponent to press them. And that is one of the very key things that happens in such build-up phases. There are a lot of things that he also tends to do in such situations. He has also instructed the eights that they, as much as possible, should take the ball on their favorite foot so that they are able, to run along with the ball. Now, moving it along, you get into the attacking phases, and that's where it becomes very interesting because he's got out-and-out wingers, and then he's got a number 9 up front. So what happens? Instead of the wingers just going to the byline and just crossing the ball like we always see in a couple of leagues, no, that doesn't happen. What happens is you've got the laterals who then pair up with their winger in front of them. Yes, so they pair up with the winger in front of them. And what normally happens is the winger tries to dribble. He's not dribbling to cross, but he's dribbling to draw opponents onto him and create space behind him or behind the opponent for the lateral to run along. So what happens is, now in this position, for instance, you've got Fet. Fet is one of the double 8s, and this is the second double 8 here. So you've got Fet, who is now coming into this position, helping the winger. So creating spaces behind, that is why the wingers try to beat their opponents. They are drawing them, so they are not taking the ball and then running gung-ho to get to the byline and cross, but they're taking the ball to draw the opponent on, displace their positioning, try to beat them, and then just pass the ball onto their own Russian, fellow teammate who is either one of the double number 8 or a lateral defender. That is what's happening. But then again, even when it comes to the crossing, it's very interesting. Look at where Fet is and look at what he wants to do. He's going to be crossing that ball, but from the penalty box. That's what makes it interesting. So they are not crossing balls majority out of the penalty box. They rather want to get into the penalty box and cross the ball from the penalty box, making it very difficult for opponents. This is a typical example here as well. So here you can see this is the left back for Bodø Glimt. Yes, Borken is the left back for Bodø Glimt. Then again you see Fred, and then again you see Hogg, who is the number 9 for the team. Look at where the gentleman Borken has gotten to before he's trying to lay in a cross. Now you can count how many bodies are for Bodø Glimt in the penalty box alone. As at this time, see Borken and the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6 players against 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the opponent's penalty box, that is advantageous to the team that has the ball. And in this case, it's advantageous to Bodø Glimt. So coming into the box, creating a press overload in the middle, forcing, the decisions and the options for the opponent and causing more harm to them. So in this part of play, they always want to get into the box and limit the whipping of balls, but having more concerted, well-timed, delivered crosses into the final box, the 6-yard area, and get a connection. They are not whipping and hoping. They are getting in there and making it sure, and making sure actually that the chances of getting a connection on the ball is very large. Now, then again, you would ask, so when they are not with the ball, what do they tend to do? This is where it gets very interesting. So there are certain press triggers that they have. They have got two different distinct press triggers. So press number 1 is the double, the wingers actually coming inside, and then the striker also dropping back to make it a cluster in the midfield, possibly a diamond together with Berg here, who is the sole pivot in that particular formation for them. And what they seek to do is wait for that trigger. So one of the triggers is normally when the ball goes out to either side of the flank, they or narrow in and squeeze the press out of the opposition there. And normally what tends to happen is anytime they get a ball from such a situation, it's then a counter-attack where they normally also go on to score. This has led to a position where normally when they play in their local league, they are the team that has the most PPDA, that is a pass per defensive action against them. And this has led to them constantly having more share of possession each time they play. They are normally averaging 60% of possession each time they play. And you've seen this happen in the Champions League. Then again, it's another beautiful one here where you've also got the laterals working together with the wingers to actually squeeze the ball to one side of the pitch, narrowing the positions and possible outlets for the opposition, and squeezing that ball out of the opposition to create opportunities for themselves. The man, Kjetil Knutsen, has been really impressive, and a couple of teams so far have looked at him, but they have not been able to get him out of the team, Bodø Glimt. I would be very glad to mention a couple of the teams. Yes, certainly you would know that a blue coat team is in there. So Strasbourg actually looked at, yes, Kjetil, proud to, bringing in the man, Liam Rosignol, who has subsequently gone on to join Chelsea. So they looked at him once again after Liam left. Before bringing in Gary O'Neill, they looked at him as well. A couple of other EPL teams have also looked at the man Kjetil. But the question then becomes, will Kjetil leave Bodø Glimt after all these years, after destroying teams in the UCL? Teams that normally you would think that should be able to walk past this particular gentleman's team. No. But in Europe, they beat anyone who gets into their home. 100 miles away from the Arctic. Done it to Manchester City. Done it to Internazionale. Done it, actually. Oh, yeah. They actually did. Oh, yeah. They did it to Man City. Oh, yeah. They did it to Man City. They did it to Man City. They did it to Internazionale. And certainly, a couple of teams have also dropped points there. But even in previous seasons, they have also beaten the likes of Roma. Oh, yeah. They beat Roma. And also remember that Mourinho even struggled when he traveled there with his former team.